A warm welcome to JioGenNext Academy 3-part web series on governance. Together, we will dive deep into the governance principles and practices that drive successful organizations. In the first part, we will understand what governance is and how different building blocks of governance come together to deliver organizational objectives. In the second part, we will delve on the governance processes and its effective implementation. In the third and final part, we will focus on benefits of governance, common challenges, and why things may go wrong. Towards the end, we will explore some best practices and get a glimpse of future trends in governance domain. So join us to master the essentials of effective governance and drive organizational success in a sustainable, repeatable manner. Let's start this session with understanding what is governance. Any organization, be it for profit organization or an NGO, exists for a purpose. That purpose is to add value to its stakeholders. And to meet this goal consistently, they need to have a mechanism, an approach which is replicable, compliant, and ethical. This structure of functioning of an organization is provided by governance. It is a framework of systems and processes implemented by people to provide overall direction, effectiveness, supervision, and accountability of an organization. Through proper implementation of governance, the organization will be better placed to achieve its objectives in a sustainable, repeatable manner. We can compare governance with a map, which helps us reach our goal by avoiding the dangers, or a lighthouse, which provides a direction in the times of turmoil or unforeseen circumstances. Key driving principles of governance are accountability, transparency, fairness, and responsibility. Accountability ensures that individuals and teams are held accountable for their actions. Transparency involves being open and clear about organizations' activities to its stakeholders. Fairness is in ensuring equal treatment and opportunities for all the stakeholders. Responsibility deals with acting as an ethical corporate citizen, which carefully evaluates pros and cons and takes into account the larger good whenever it is taking a decision. Now that we know of the guiding principles of governance, let us understand the different components of governance. First component is foundational document. There are certain values which the organization holds dear to itself and uses as a foundation for all its activities. These values could be inclusivity, curiosity, respect, integrity, etc. Organization declares its commitment to these values and its intent to do the right thing through foundational documents like Code of Conduct or Code of Business Ethics. These documents act as a compass for developing documents which govern the day-to-day functioning of the organization. Next is policies and processes. So, the organization has the intent to do the right thing, but organization manifests this intent through its employees, who are integral part of each activity to achieve its goal. Now, what may be right way to do a thing for one employee may not be right for another. So, how does the organization ensure all its employees act in a similar way for a particular set of circumstances? It first establishes operational guardrails in form of policies which clearly lay out the rules across different domains for its employees. The policies are broad and overarching documents which communicate the organization's values, expectations, requirements, and aims to ensure consistent decision making and behavior across the organization. An example could be customer goods return policy. On the other hand, a process operationalizes the policies by providing clear step-by-step guide on how to perform tasks and activities. Processes aim to ensure tasks are performed in a consistent, efficient, and accurate manner. They are narrower and specific in nature and provide clear instructions to achieve the desired results. An example would be process of handling the customer returns. In short, policies provide the what and why of an organization's guidelines, while the processes provide the how to implement and follow those guidelines. Next is compliance and ethics. An organization is governed by internal and external rules and regulations. It is not sufficient that an organization claims to be compliant to these rules and regulations. It needs to periodically demonstrate compliance in a prescribed manner. A demonstration of compliance may be in form of an assertion of adhering to a requirement or in form of an action. For example, getting a license renewed and displayed at a prominent place, or even filing a GST return. A robust system to track each compliance is critical for the organization to remain on the right side of the law. It is required that the compliances are owned by identified officials within the organization, are reviewed periodically for relevance, and where found necessary, new compliance requirements are identified and incorporated for ongoing monitoring. While organization makes every effort to remain compliant, there may be instances where intentionally or inadvertently some breach of compliance requirement, either internal or external, may occur. While such deviations may come to notice during regular reviews and audits, it is equally important to have in place a vigil mechanism which enables stakeholders to report such incidents in good faith. This mechanism must ensure that the complainant is protected against retaliation for reporting such incidents and the concerns raised investigated in a fair and objective manner in a time-bound manner. Next is risk management. Any organization exists in an environment which offers multitude of opportunities to grow, while at the same time poses threats to its organization's ability to achieve its goals. It is crucial for an organization to safeguard its assets, ensure business continuity, and maintain a stable and predictable operating environment which will foster growth and resilience. This is enabled by risk management. The risks are identified by all stakeholders of a process and evaluated considering their probability of occurrence and impact if the risk materializes. Basis this evaluation, these risks are prioritized for introducing control. All risks cannot be or should not be attempted to be zeroized. What is needed is a conscious effort to minimize, monitor, and control the probability or impact of such unfortunate events. Like any other business decision, this too has a cost-benefit trade-off perspective. Next is lines of defense. It is critical to have a robust mechanism to periodically monitor risks and effectiveness of risk management interventions to an appropriate extent and at an appropriate level. Such mechanism is provided by 3 lines of defense. 3 lines of defense is an organizational model of roles and responsibilities to manage the risk and compliance obligations of specific teams within the organization. First line of defense is the line management itself. The management self-verification is the responsibility of the first line of defense. Line management owns the risk as well as the design and execution of the controls identified as a response to those risks. Second line of defense is usually the specific teams responsible for ongoing monitoring of the design and operation of controls. They also provide advice and facilitate risk management activities. Functional assurance is a responsibility of the second line of defense. Group internal audit is the third line of defense. The group internal audit provides independent assurance to senior management and the board over both the first and second line's effort of managing risks. Last is employee interventions. In order to ensure that employees are aware of expectations of organization with respect to compliant and ethical conduct of business, L&D teams roll out various initiatives to proactively engage employees, communicate key messages, and reinforce expected behaviors. Such interventions can be in form of classroom training programs or e-learning modules. Often such sessions have small quizzes at the end to test the understanding of employees. Such learning interventions are supported by publication and display of posters highlighting key messages. For example, what kind of gifts are acceptable, or where to report a concern if you find that there is a breach of any internal or external rules or regulations. Relevant mailers may be sent out periodically to explain the correct way of doing things. For example, about gifting during the Diwali time. Governance-related messages are often made part of town hall meetings, usually led by the top leadership. Such interventions create the right level of awareness amongst the employees about compliant, ethical, and safe conduct of business. In fact, many organizations are now extending such interventions to its stakeholders as well, say vendors or customers. This helps in creating an ecosystem which is tuned with organization's intent with respect to meeting the performance goals. Now let us understand why governance is critical. Enron and Satyam scandals have shown that when governance framework of an organization is not strong enough and is compromised by certain individuals, it spells the death knell for the organization. We know what happened to Enron. It had to file for one of the largest bankruptcies in US history, and Satyam collapsed under the weight of irregularities and had to be rescued by Mahindras. What we saw in these cases was a breakdown of governance components leading to absence of transparency, lack of accountability, and questionable business conduct. These all led to massive fraud and financial misreporting. Now contrast this with the Tata Group. Known for its robust corporate governance, they have very well-defined governance structure with independent directors, audit committees, and a transparent financial reporting practices. This ensures accountability and ethical business conduct. It has also helped them create an unparalleled brand equity as an ideal corporate citizen. What is also important is that such strong governance practices help businesses to sustain itself, grow in competitive times, and establish itself as a leader and stay there across decades. Thus, governance is an important element which is crucial for sustainable growth in a dynamic business environment. Let's do a quick recap. We started the session by understanding what the governance is and what are the key guiding principles of good governance framework: accountability, transparency, fairness, and responsibility. Then we went ahead to understand the components of governance, the foundational documents, policies and procedures, compliance and ethics, risk management, 3 lines of defense, and finally employee interventions. We have an end of session activity for you. Identify key components of governance in your own organization and list them down. Meet you in the next session where we will delve on the governance processes in a little more detail and see how we can ensure its effective implementation. Thank you.